I see us getting close to. I don't think the situation in France. I think England will be different. I can see a point where English men are going to react and react en masse. And I'd say by the phone calls I've been receiving all week that they're pushing the point close already. I don't see any. We have no. There is no reasonable solution to this for the problems they've imported. We all know that. So to get through this and to bring the change we need, there's going to be chaos either way. Because if we try to enforce the laws that we already have, which should be enforced upon that community in order to bring about that change, there's going to be huge chaos from them, riots on mass levels. And if they ignore them and they continue to allow it go this way, I can see them creating English bombers. That's what they're going to do. They're going to do that. And again, just I look at it as a father of three. It's just that there's no light at the end of the tunnel here for anyone. So when people get desperate like that, which is why I keep saying it's like they're forcing people down that path.
We see more religion of peace celebrations. Mexicans like to eat enchiladas and have fun and shoot fireworks and drink tequila and beer on their holidays and hit piñatas. And, well, if you talk about white folks around here, we like doing the same thing on holidays. Or 4th of July, same thing. Eat enchiladas or hamburgers or steaks and shoot fireworks off in the air. And pretty much everybody else, like you go to Thailand or you go to China or you go to Russia or you go to Brazil, you go to Japan. They like doing the same thing on their holidays. It's pretty much the same deal. Get together, eat food, have a few drinks, light some lanterns off, shoot them up in the sky, whatever. Not with Islam. Why? During the month of Ramadan, we always see tens of thousands of Christians killed all over the world, hundreds and hundreds killed in the West. And so George Soros and the UN, they had a plan. They said, just bring them in mass. Bring the folks in that can't even live with each other in peace in their own countries. And everything will turn out just wonderfully. And now we've got people taken hostage in Australia by people screaming, this is for Allah. So I guess they got tired of Allah Akbar. Now it's, this is for Allah. And the same thing happened with this attacking a cop with a hammer. So the cop's hurt and the jihadi's been shot. And you've got the London Bridge and the Lion of London Bridge, the guy that took on the 3 guys. They come in, they start stabbing everybody, and one guy, they call him a football hooligan, 47-year-old guy gets up and starts fighting him until the police get there, and he gets stabbed in the neck and stabbed in the chest and stabbed in the arms, and some liberals are calling for him to be arrested for a hate crime. I'm not kidding. They charge you in England if you fight back. In fact, our guest, who is a hero, ladies and gentlemen, has been put in jail before. Tommy Robbins of the Rebel.media on Twitter, T. Robbins, New Era, amazing guy. Everybody loves him. I remember thinking he was a radical 10 years ago when I first learned about him. Paul Watson, of course, really introduced him to me on air, show how ignorant I am the last few years, to actually start following his work. Thank God he now actually makes documentaries and does news. We can see who he is, not what the media says about him. And this is all part of the process as we all learn how lied to we've been and how we want to be politically correct, even if we're libertarians. We want to try to live and let live. Well, if people don't want to live and let live with us, it's suicide to go along with it. And so I'm done. The greatest victims of Islam, are the people in it. And folks across the UK are fed up with it. So he joins us more and more, unfortunately. Used to be every month that there'd be a terror attack at Beyond. Now it's every couple days in the UK. And we almost just forget about him. And that's what Khan, the mayor, said. Don't let Trump come, he said today. He's the problem. And he said we should just get used to these terror attacks. And then it's no big deal. And then it's not Islam. That's the London stand mayor that said if the Brexit doesn't let more Muslims in, he'll just block it. Himself, he'll block the government and just bring them in. He's in sedition. But he's the good cop, bad cop thing. So Tommy Robbins joins us. He has a new video. He goes to these mosques where they're radicalizing these very people. He confronts them. He shows where they live. People that are calling for jihad and the death live right next to schools. And that's what Muslims target, the weakest. They want it to be the most heinous. Like Genghis Khan would do. He wasn't a Muslim, but the same thing, because it creates a terror. It drives you out. That's what the Prophet Muhammad said you should do. Peace be upon him, because there's the peace of total submission. So the religion of peace strikes again, but again, none of this has anything to do with Islam. So Tommy Robbins, just crazy to see this unfolding.
Hi, Alex.
Where do you want to begin? Because give us the numbers, the facts. What's going on, the numbers. 500 ongoing plots, Scotland Yard says. Is that accurate?
500 open investigations to plots. 3 plots which you've seen, which was the Westminster attack by Khalid Massoud, the most recent one, London Bridge, and then the attack on the children's concert in Manchester, and 5 failed attempts in the last 3 months. We have over 3,000 Muslims on 24-hour-day, 7-day-a-week watch that are a potential threat to us, and we have up to 23 to 25,000 Muslims who are on the terror watch. That's the reality of where we're at. Terrorism offences go up 60% every year. So what we need to understand, and everyone needs to understand, is there's problems not getting better. I remember David Cameron, after Lee Rigby was beheaded, a member of our military, on the streets of London. David Cameron set up a government task force. He come out the next day, like Theresa May's just done. He come out with this big speech about, we will now combat this extremism. We have this 5-year plan. I remember sitting there at the time saying, it's going to be a lot worse in 5 years, because you still have not even named the problem. You haven't identified the problem. Now, in that 5 years of whilst David Cameron had this big plan, in that 5 years, 4 times as many Muslims joined ISIS than have ever signed up to the British military. We've allowed in excess of 500 of them who have been trained in Syria. They've been out there already. They've been raping, pillaging, murdering. They're now back, walking around our streets. I've actually been looking at the whereabouts, trying to find some of them this week. One of them's working in a car park as a car park attendant at a hospital in the UK. The most recent, that video that you're showing there, that most recent video, that man's name is Abu Halima, okay? He's one of the most radical extremists in our country. He was working as a bus driver, Alex, a bus driver in London. So at any point that he wanted to ram that bus into whatever he could have. But obviously, if the government's put him on a watch list, one of the top watch lists, they know he's a threat. So they're fully aware what a threat he is to us.
Why don't we get him a jet pilot's license? Maybe he can fly 777s.
This is how ludicrous. It doesn't sound believable, does it? They also went into his house and they seized his passport because they knew he was going to try and fight jihad in Syria. So when you take away a Muslim's passport, you prevent him from going. We know he wants to fight jihad. That is leaving a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Now, as we've seen recently, it's exploding on children. And most recently, innocent women sitting having a restaurant in London have had knives ploughed into their neck. Okay? Now, so we know this man's a danger. And when I track him down and find out where he is, they've housed him in a lovely area with our money next to our kids in a school. So even I understand, because there was an attack after the last Westminster Bridge attack. There was another attack stopped where they've been following this Muslim for 3-4 months, and they followed him, and he had a bag full of knives, and he just got to Parliament where he was just about to attack someone, and they jumped out and arrested him. Yeah. So in those circumstances, yeah, okay, you can monitor them and arrest them. Where he lives, he has to climb over his back garden, and he's in the children's playground. You can't stop that. They cannot stop that. So the danger they're putting us in as a public, it's an absolute liberty that the government are doing this. These men, especially the ones who've been fighting for ISIS, all the ones on the terror watch list, what you find out again, I found out again, one of these London Bridge attackers was a failed asylum seeker. What's he doing here? What is he doing here? Not only is he a failed asylum seeker, one of the other ones appeared on a documentary 12 months ago called The Jihadi Next Door. They're walking around our streets.
So let's be clear. They're launching more and more attacks. ISIS said 3 years ago, we're going to flood Europe and the UK with millions. And inside those millions of refugees, we have hundreds of thousands of operatives. And then we're going to have the sleeper cells activate. And we see exponentially them activating here, Europe, Australia, Russia. And when Russia gets bombed, our media actually goes, oh, you're bad, you deserve it. I mean, there is like an alliance with the left and Islam that you and others have been exposing for a long time. David Horowitz, you name it. And they're in the news. And then I have media say, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Jones believes Europe is knowingly bringing in ISIS, when Merkel and others advertise, come here, put you up in government housing, pay for you, put you in nice areas, kick pensioners out of their Section 8 housing in Sweden, in Germany, in Denmark, in Finland. I mean, you cannot... In Italy, there's countless footage of old people and stuff being thrown out of their houses, hotels being, the paying customers thrown out, and asylum seekers that have been shuttled in on George Soros boats, literally, from the coast of Libya, brought into the country. What is the master plan? A. Then B, where do you see this going? Because I said this in the last hour, and I said it to create a controversy. I said, people that are known ISIS fighters, that have killed people, that have raped women, that have murdered, they all post videos of it. Why are you letting them back in? Why are you giving them government jobs? Why are you putting police cars outside their houses to, quote, protect them, like you just showed in a video we aired before you came on? It's on Infowars.com and on Rebel Media. When you look at this, I'm saying they should be tried for their crimes against humanity, just like Nazis at Nuremberg. They should be executed. And if they're convicted, I will kick the lever, saying I'm willing to stand up to them. I'm sick of this. And you've got these guys, 80% on welfare, literally wearing women's nightgowns, walking around wearing diapers, not working, usually weighing 400 pounds, bitching at everyone with their big greasy beards, just running around. I mean, it's disgusting, and it's a joke. And then there are women that are wearing hoods and are kept in cages at home, and I'm just sick of them. So literally, I don't want violence. What I'm saying is they're bringing in violent groups. They've domesticated that out of a whole pub of like 100 people, one guy went and started trying to fight back, and then the media calls him a wild man. I mean, what planet are we on?
And the maddest part of all of that is that we're paying for them. We are actually paying for all of this ourselves out of our taxpayers' money. We keep hearing, we're in an election campaign, there's an election on Thursday. We keep hearing about the shortage of police. Those 3,000 men, to monitor one of them, it costs £2 million, yeah? To monitor one of them a year. Now, it takes 3 sets of 9 men each day to monitor them. That's 27 officers a day, times by 3,000. And we've got a shortage of police. We've got a shortage of money.
By the way, let's also talk about what percentage of the birth defects are Muslims' babies because of the inbreeding, and what percentage of the crime. I mean, it's like take the most barbarous, inbred, insane people, bring them into one of the most beautiful places, one of the freest places in the world, and turn it into a giant open sewer.
3% of Britain is Pakistani. 33% of all child defects are Pakistani. That's what we've imported. The cost, again, what I said, the terrorism, all of these things, but the cost to our country, when we're going without, when old people are going out, when everyone's moaning about the cutbacks and the financial problems that the country's having, and then we look at what money we're spending, which we, even when you go on about the inbreeding, why? Where's 2017? We're fully aware of the problems when a cousin marries a cousin. Why are we allowing upwards of, I think it's upwards to 70% in one city in England called Bradford, upwards of 70% of them are married to first cousins. Why are we allowing this? Well, we know why it happens, because Muhammad did it. So because the Prophet Muhammad did it, and we know that everything he did was perfect, then if he married his cousin, you can marry his cousin. If he said sleep with marry a 6-year-old and rape her when she's 9, you can. All the problems, again, all the problems come back. Even when we look at the thoughts of the British Muslim community, we see that 66% of them would not report on another Muslim who was going to fight or join ISIS, terrorism. 66%. Now, why is that? That's because of the scripture in the Quran that tells them they can never side or go against a Muslim because they'll end up in hellfire.
And by the way, tell us about this guy that has police protection you just showed a few days ago. He's walking around on the video saying, what do you do to gays? I throw them off buildings. I mean, this guy just is saying he wants to do all this, and he's not even from the UK, and they won't get rid of him.
Obviously, we had to cut that video into certain bits, but there's also things he says where he basically admits that, I support ISIS. Basically sits there and admits it. So when he had there was no police protection there until I went to his house. Yeah? So once I've gone to his house, which is when I spoke to the police officer, I said, so let me get this clear. Yesterday, You weren't sat here. So if he wanted to walk out of his house and he's a danger, which we know he is, to any of the people living on this road or any of those school children in that playground, you weren't here. The police, you were not here to protect us. But now that I'm here, here you are to protect him. Do you know how insane that is? Do you know how ridiculous that is? And again, this is us paying for it. Why? You know how hard it is to get a British police officer in the UK for crimes. And here they are guarding an ISIS-supporting scumbag terrorist who should not even be breathing the same air as us. That's where we're at. And it's so frustrating because this isn't a one-off. This is happening across our country. They are literally housing jihadists next to our schools with our kids. And we're supposed to, and when you say, where is it leading? I don't wish for anything, but I have to, in all honesty, my phone has not stopped. And it's not stopped with every sort of character across the whole country who is demanding some sort of action and some sort of path or some sort of guidance in what to do. Because, and what they're going to do, and I say it in that video, you're going to create a monster, because when the police fail and the state and the system fails to protect its citizens, which it's doing now, right now, it fails. There's no argument about it. They have got blood on their hands. That most recent attack, if they'd have listened to what we've been asking them, if they'd have listened to the laws we've been demanding them to implement for almost a decade, then these people would be alive. That's it. There's no ifs and buts.
And let me expand on where you think this is going to go, because look at Paris. They're reporting that their tourism's down by half the last few years, 80% on the decade. I sent a crew there last year. There were no-go zones all over the place. We went to Brussels, Belgium, no-go zones everywhere. The Muslims are so aggressive, so hateful. They won't give you service at restaurants, gas stations, taxi drivers more and more. There is a jihad on. And they admit that France is going bankrupt because of this, but they don't care. They won't stop. It's this commitment. So where is this going to go? Because I've talked to so many folks we've had on from the UK, the fellow that caught the video of CNN doing the fake press conference with the Muslims saying they were sorry, which of course was all fake, because they don't do that. And he said him and his girlfriend won't go out now during Ramadan because they knew this would happen. And this is what's going on.
So the security and the stability that we enjoyed as a generation and the previous generation growing up, we're handing it away. So our children will not enjoy those freedoms. Our children in years to come, the simple things of going to a pop concert, which we take for granted, will not be the same for the next generation. People going out and enjoying themselves, people going out into bars, there will be an install of fear. And that comes down to strike fear into the heart of the disbeliever. Again, scripture in the Quran, 12:8.
That's why they target little girls, little boys. That's why they eat hearts. That's why they want to be as nasty as possible and have videos of 6-year-old boys killing people, is to strike fear in our hearts and terrorize us into submission.
And terrorize us. I see we're not far off. I've been saying it for years. We weren't far off the young children, but also just starting on the end of one road and going into the houses and killing every people in the road, yeah? Now, when they do that, which at some point I believe they will, when they do that, the whole country, when they're going to bed that night, it's a door locked. It's a door locked. Everyone will be worried. Everyone will be fearful.
Stay there. Let's talk about the time bomb. What you're warning of right now with Tommy Robinson. Let's get past Islam. The globalists are doing this by design. They admit it. The head of the UN migration group who founded the EU, Peter Sutherland, says it's about ending Europeans' Europeanness. Well, if Europeans don't want to have kids, that's their issue. Bring in, like I said, people from Latin America or something. I mean, they're compatible with Western civilization, not folks from Muslim countries, folks. I mean, this is crazy. We'll go back to Mr. Robinson here in just a moment. TheRebel.media is the great outfit he's with. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter at @TRobinson_New-Era. And he also has his book, Enemy of the State. He should come on sometime just about what he's been through, what it's been like, how crazy it is. And then you know that's the model for Germany, the model for here. This is what we're going under. This is a plan. You can see the phases being brought in here. But before we go any further, please support the broadcast. We've got several new specials that we're running. We have BioTrue Selenium that's been sold out for 2-3 months. That is the purest selenium out there. And selenium's so important. Read about selenium deficiencies. Read about what true selenium does for your body. This is in a big glass bottle. It's full of capsules. It's from the mustard seed. It's totally organic, absolutely clean. 25% off, even though it's been sold out for a long time. And your purchase is completely and absolutely needed to be able to fund what we're doing here. We also have the Z Shield that's got the Shilajit and the zeolites and other things that are known to pull toxins out of your blood, out of your body. Very, very important. That's 25% off. You can read all the great reviews there. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. I want to thank you all for your support and your prayers. And yes, I've been hardcore about all this, folks, because people are in a malaise. They're in a state of going along with this garbage. They are in a trance. We've got to shock them out of it before it explodes too big. So, Tommy Robinson, one of the main leaders globally, exposing the true threat of Islam, how it says in the Quran, lay low, act like you're nice till your numbers get big enough, then let attacks happen, play the part of the good cop to lull them in until your numbers are high enough. Where does this end if people don't stand up? But we're getting to the main point. When you warn folks about a blow up, how do you see this happening? What is the breaking point when the government disarms the people, then brings in an outside third world cult-like piranha force who are now enforcing Sharia law on the streets, kidnapping little girls everywhere, murdering everybody? What do you do? I mean, what do you see coming?
I see us getting close to, I don't think, the situation in France, I think England will be different. I can see a point where English men are going to react en masse. And I'd say by the phone calls I've been receiving all week that they're pushing the point close already. I don't see any, there is no reasonable solution to this for the problems they've imported. We all know that. So to get through this and to bring the change we need, there's going to be chaos either way. Because if we try to enforce the laws that we already have, which should be enforced upon that community in order to bring about that change, there's going to be huge chaos from them, riots on mass levels. And if they ignore them and they continue to allow it go this way, I can see them creating English bombers. That's what they're going to do. They're going to do that. And again, just I look at it as a father of three. It's just there's no light at the end of the tunnel here for anyone. So when people get desperate like that, which is why I keep saying it's like they're forcing people down that path. That's how I see it. Until you address the issue and you show people hope, and when the system fails, again, Alex, I'll bring you back to a situation. So there's a situation in a city called Leicester. Leicester is just north of where I live, and this is the Sikh community. There was a young Sikh girl who was gang raped by Muslim men. So the family went to the police. The police actually, just like they used to always do, they refused to do anything. So then,
Tommy Robinson, stay there. We're back in 70 seconds. I'll go right to you to finish your story. Stay with us, folks. I'm Alex Jones. That's right. We're under FEMA. We're under the UN. We're under international treaty. Trump's trying to pull us out of it. The UK discovered they were under the unelected EU. They never had to vote in that. They're pulling out. All the stuff that was fringe, 20 years ago is now mainstream now, and Donald Trump is blowing big holes in the globalist operation. Final segment we have with this amazing guest, Tommy Robinson. My website's Infowars.com. Our backup's PrisonPlanet.com. You can follow him on Twitter at @TRobinson, New Era. And again, his book is Enemy of the State. I want to carry his book. I know it's been out for a year or so, and I want to, really focus on what he's doing and the reporting he's doing for Rebel Media, because it's groundbreaking and he has a lot of courage. I don't have time to get into the whole story of what he's been through to bring you this information, but let's just say this: freedom's not free. So we got 4 minutes left. I appreciate your time. Other key points, your predictions. You were telling the story about the family going to the police.
About the Sikhs. So the Sikhs went to the police, and the police done nothing. So then what happened, which is what will happen in this circumstance as well. Sikhs went into become vigilantes, and 20 to 30 Sikh men found the groomers. The men that were raping the girl, they found them, they attacked them, they attacked their businesses, they attacked their properties. What then happened, because of that, the police then arrested the Muslims for gang raping the girl. Then, and only then, because of that vigilantism. And then the 20 Sikh men were sent to prison. But the only reason why the Sikhs had to do that was because the system failed. Now, if the government and the police continue to fail English people in our country, they continue to put our children at risk to bombs, put our women at risk to rape, then unfortunately, that is what you're going to see. You're going to see English men getting together. You're going to see them finding where these men are, finding where they are, and taking the law into their own hands. And that would have been created. No one's.
Well, I know they've tried to hire a bunch of social justice warrior police, but when I've been to the UK, a lot of the police are listeners. The word I'm getting is the police are going to start doing stuff vigilante.
No, yeah, that's the, and again, before, because I complain about what the police have done to me a lot. Look, that's not the police. That's the hierarchy of the police. That's political policing. Individual police officers that I meet, even the officer that was killed in the most recent one, run at them. Yeah. So if you look at how the police reacted, how they've reacted to the Manchester investigation, great. Okay. I don't have a bad word to say about your individual police officers on the ground, because I have so many of them complaining to me every time I see them about what they have. We cannot cope with this. I had a lead officer in one city saying we're not prepared for what's going to happen, and we know it's coming. We know it's coming.
Well, the police are just going to have to stand down when people take the matters into their own hands.
Unfortunately, that's what I see happening. After the London riots, when London was burning, on the third day of the police failing to deal with it, you had 2,000 English men who were football hooligans, like this Millwall man. 2,000 English men who come out to fight, and they
at least thank God for hooligans. We ought to have a T-shirt. I mean, why is it only hooligans that are like to go watch soccer and fight? At least they're still men.
They're men that aren't afraid to fight. So they're men that aren't afraid to fight. And unfortunately, what we've done in this generation, what we've done in Britain, is we've really pussified our men, and we've really created a weak generation of men. And until we... I
don't know how you sit there while people are stabbing women in front of you and don't do anything. I mean, it's so obvious. Pick up chairs, beat them over the head, attack them, grab a fire extinguisher off the wall, bash their brains out. I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to kill people. I watch these Muslims. They're so pathetic when trying to kill somebody. It's like they're like a 14-year-old boy. It'd be so... I mean, they're a joke, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that's the problem. And the men... And for years, I've been condemned. For years... The English Defence League was condemned, but the men that will be fighting on the front line of that battle will be those men. And when that battle comes, because it's coming.
And I know this, you guys aren't going to be targeting women and children. It's going to be the known Islamicists, correct?
It's like I don't want to ever see that. I don't ever want to get to that situation. And when I say these things, I'm not encouraging or supporting or saying that's what
you're trying to stop it from happening.
I'm warning. And
but the government is creating a guaranteed vacuum, like a chemistry experiment that will explode.
They are.
They're the ones allowing this. They're the ones bringing it in. They're the ones covering up for it, and so is MSM. All right, therebel.media. Tommy Robbins, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
That's a real journalist and a real patriot and a real hero. We'll be back.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.